Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always, episode 8. We are starting out step 3 at relaxed crush level, so we will see what this does. We are sure we're not gonna change anything for Cove. We're just gonna let that be. All right, we get more tutorial. Once you pick your level, it can be changed partway through this step. The choice only comes up at the very beginning of a story section. We hope you enjoy whatever initiative should we do middle? I feel like that's fair. The start of classes ended the relaxed free days of summer. It didn't take long for you to get back into the swing of the school year routine. Schedules and homework became the new normal. Jarek wasn't around nearly as much. With school and after-school activities, there weren't many opportunities for him to take the trip out to your neighborhood. Sometimes you'd hear that he was at a training camp or something like that, but you weren't always sure what he was up to. We still kept in touch. We told him we would. The Jeremy kid did disappear after that summer, and no one ever heard from him again. Where he went or what he might be up to was a mystery. More summers came and went like waves on the shore, coming in and out. In your second year of high school, someone new started to visit Sunset Bird, a sunny girl named Terry Brooke. She was a friend Cove made due to them both being ocean obsessed. Terry was more than glad to befriend you two. Someone close to Cove had to be good company, she felt. You were pleased to get along with her as well. Terry was tight with another girl who you had known distantly from school for a long time, Miranda Eckert. You saw more and more of her as time went on, thanks to Terry and Miranda's own outreach. After a while, all of you developed a real friendship together. As for your home life, the Leighs also had developments. Changing laws and public perception countrywide made it impossible for your moms to openly wear their wedding rings without questions. That's sad. Changing laws and public perception countrywide made it impossible for your moms to openly wear their wedding rings without questions. Though they had a wedding years ago, it was only recently that the union was officially recognized everywhere in the U.S. That was a good day, to say the least. Elizabeth came into her own and stopped being quite as irritable. She no longer worried about perceived childishness as she grew up for real. She didn't even mind being called Lizzie again, although most people used Liz. She eventually graduated high school and moved out to attend college in another state. It was a lot for you to adjust to your older sister being gone. Liz never let you forget her role in your life, though, and kept in touch. Cove's relationship with his family improved over the years. Kira visited several times after that summer. Things became easier between the two. He was also closer with his dad than ever before. You knew they talked more, and that helped prevent a lot of friction before it could start. And Cove only continued to open up to his parents and the rest of the world. He was so bright, he shone. Do we shone? I don't know. He would willingly join conversations, make jokes, and put in an effort not to use overly blunt phrasing. Cove's interests had shifted from when he was younger. He still enjoyed athletic activities on occasion, but now he gave time to more studious endeavors as well. Things had shifted between you and Cove. You had been friends for years, but the closer you became, the more you felt for him. You didn't view him in a purely platonic way anymore. It was strange to look back on it all. The future faded into your present. Then it was simply the past. Even the most fundamental parts of your life couldn't last forever. You felt that the most pointedly the day you inevitably graduated high school. It was over, and you would not be going back ever again. From now on, what came next was your choice. You'd be directing your own life. That was where you were currently. The summer after school had ended. The first summer of true freedom. What used to be a reprieve from the typical was now going to be your first step into adulthood. One fine summer morning, you took in what had become a very special scene, the whole family having a meal together. Your big sister Liz still hadn't lived at home full-time in a couple years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here since it was off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in town because you now had also graduated high school, so you knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future. You watched on as Liz laughed good-naturedly over a comment Mom made. Her Elizabeth-only mindset had been a phase. Nearly any nickname was welcome at this point in her life. Strangely, even though she'd moved away, you felt closer to her than you had in a long time. You idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absent-mindedly. Listen. I'm not going to pretend I'm not a picky eater, so we'll say that. And the meal you had reflected that. Your moms were happy to make food that fit your needs, along with dishes for themselves that didn't, though you often made your own food nowadays. That's true. That's what I did. As soon as I was like, you know what? I don't have to eat this. I can make my own. And then it was great. But it wasn't only you who had a diet that excluded certain things, as Liz had been vegetarian for a while. Conversation had gone on idly without you fully taking in the words until your ears were piqued when Ma started on a bit of town gossip. So that's how I heard the news. All right, now stop burying the lead and tell us, what's this so-called news? Ma giggled as she cast a look across the table, satisfied that she had everyone's attention. Well, it turns out the Donnells won't be renting out the condo up the street as per Sunset Bird tradition for the first time in what must be nearly 2 decades. A chorus of gasps, and shocked expressions were had all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows were pinched. Excuse me. Ma may consider them by name, but you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 who crossed their path. Your ma continued on with the story, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did so. They've decided not to take big trips anymore. Friends and family will be visiting them at their home. That's nice for them then. Have a good summer, mean grandparents with no grandkids, away from us. I mean, this is sad. No, we'll go with this one. They've had a full life. It's nothing to sneeze at. And you be nice, Liz. You don't want to end up like them, do you? You and your sister cracked smiles at the joke. At least they won't be here to yell at my children anymore. Pfft, Lonnie. And the blunt comment got laughter from all 3 of you. Engrossed in the conversation once more, you continued to chat with your family until the meal was over. Step 3, third time's charm. As it went, once the food was eaten, the cleanup had to be done. Liz took the role of washing the dishes and passed them to you for drying and putting away. You had a set of cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf in the cabinet. All right, we'll do that. That was simply your lot in life. You'd always hovered around the expected height for your age. I wanna be tall. I mean, realistically, that was the struggle for you because you remember how you used to feel so content about it when you were younger. Liz shook you out of your internal musing by starting up an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You'd think after the first year or two I'd have a handle on things, but no. You stole a glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. Guess it's only fair. My first round was pretty general classes, and year 1 of my architecture major was the basics. Now it feels serious. I have to actually know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed at the plates held more force than necessary. I know you can handle it. How sweet of you to believe in me. Thanks. Your older sister's mouth quirked into a small smile. It'll be fine, one way or another. Oh, but I'm not trying to scare you away from college. If that's even your plan, what is going on with that anyway? Girl, I hope you have it figured out as the summer before. You had kind of a general idea. You answered the question with as much as you were able and willing to. Liz's smile grew more reassuring as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You got plenty going for you. Sometimes it still felt hard to believe your public schooling experience was over. In the end, you had to work extremely hard. But you had the grades to show for it. And you felt satisfied leaving off there. It had been a familiar and fulfilling part of your life, but you were ready to move on. Liz picked up on the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the topic. You're a good girl, Mandy. Do what's best for you, and we'll be here to back you up. Back you up. Thanks, Liz. At that, Liz happily passed the final dish your way. She waved a soapy-soaked hand as farewell and moved on to her next task for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting the last pieces put back where they belonged. You eventually moved up to a new chore. That was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. Obviously that's how it works. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday gift from your parents. They decided which model to get, but you got to pick the color. It was... if they ever had a purple phone. Obviously, I decorated it. Come on. Which was... I think the shell would be cute. Screen lit up as you gave the little device a swipe with one finger. You were informed by caller ID that it was Leigh. You weren't surprised. Despite having busier and busier lives and not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin of the same age. Especially once the miracle of both of you having your own phones actually happened. She got hers first, though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar, bubbly voice came through right after. Hey, Mandy. Hiya. I trust I'm not interrupting anything major. At least I'm cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. A distraction that must have been desperately needed. Hey, I love doing chores. Of course, who wouldn't? She giggled, and you could hear the jangling of jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. Woo! That's good. We were off. Like you, Leigh had started dipping her toes into the workforce as of late, made keeping in touch frequently more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal. Cool, that's you then. So, how's Mr. Cove Holden doing? There was a teasing bent to her tone. She was never willing to let up on what was going on between the two of you. But that name was incredibly familiar to your ears. Cove, your next door neighbor from the past decade at this point. Let's do that one. Or this one. Or should we start at boyfriend? We'll do this one. You vividly remember the day you expressed feelings for each other. You only got together officially recently. Are you even surviving without the boy being 10 feet away at all times? Or is everything right with the world again and he's back? No, Leigh, he isn't here, just like he wasn't here yesterday or the last time you asked her, the time before that. Aw, my bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, I want to visit soon. He needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. For the past couple months, in the last few weeks especially, Cove had been going to his mom's place in Nevada. The two of you still regularly stayed in contact over text and calls, but still. Your mind began to drift back in time to all the prior trips he'd taken to visit her. Almost every year he'd go away for a while and then he'd be back. It was just shitty. I mean, I'm not unreasonable. He's gotta go visit his family. I guess we never minded it because not that. I don't want him to not visit his family. That's no. But not seriously. So I guess we're gonna say we never minded it. He sent him letters the entire time he was away. Well, the care package is nice. It was always full of really great stuff. He sent you regular letters in return. That's how it was in the past, but lately he had been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became too impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Cove hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plans were after graduation. Cove was hesitant to speak on that, even with you. It couldn't be avoided forever, though. You both knew that. Maybe we should switch this up to a non-Cove related topic. Sounds like a plan. The rest of the conversation rolled on. Not much longer, though. Leigh had to go, and you needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes, then you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came in. As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Want to get out of this tiny town to do some shopping in a real city? That sounds great. Good. I'm driving. Even though you could drive too, it was her plan, so she could do it if she wanted. Go get your wallet and anything else. We're going now. With a nod, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from the bedroom. You had money saved up from all the part-time work you'd done, as well as the gifts you'd received. After making sure you were both fully prepared for the long haul to the largest city in the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, with light conversation about what shops to stop at and the radio blasting. Liz controlled what was played, but she made sure to pick songs she knew you liked. It was something the two of you had always done for each other. The trip there breezed by, and in what felt like no time you had gone from cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. Liz had her interests to check out, and you yours. Your hobbies and skills were still the ones you developed when you were younger. Probably gotten into new things. Did we change anything? We enjoyed learning new things. You wrote things. Like to watch? No. Video games. Card games. You played the guitar. I did play the clarinet. Thank you for asking. Oh, I can't add anymore. All right. I was like, I did also play the tenor sax. Thank you very much. And you listened to a lot of it. Okay, and that was everything major, I guess. When turning a corner down a new length of the mall, your eyes caught a little gift store. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating. Graduating high school. You realized you wanted to get a graduation gift yourself to give to Cove. You had I would say we probably already had it ready. Something you had known you wanted to do and you were looking forward to seeing his reaction. Graduation may have already come and gone, but Cove wasn't really around, so you had to wait. Eventually, the mall was explored in full, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, you decided to walk over to some smaller stores nearby. Liz had many thoughts on that topic. Honestly, malls are not the bastion of society. Even if smaller stores require extra distance, the brands are so much more Then your sister was abruptly stopped speaking, walking right in the middle of your path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut off for a moment. Liz? The attempt to catch her attention was unsuccessful. Something else had all her focus. Before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. Mandy, don't draw attention, but look. What? The harsh whisper and a subtle jerk of her head. She urged you once more. Look. You followed her gaze as best you could with a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path. Okay. You faced back over to your sister with a confused expression and an unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there? Mandy, doesn't one of them seem familiar? She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked the group over again, and this time you saw what she was seeing. Amongst the collection of strangers was brown hair, gray eyes, and lots of freckles. That's Shiloh, our Shiloh from when we were kids. Yep, that was definitely him. Can't believe it. He's honestly just there. That's hilarious. That's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We'd have to pull him away from all those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Your mouth opened to reply, but she cut off her own answer to the question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shiloh, and then we act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know without a doubt it's him. Mandy, keep an eye out to see if he looks. Liz, can't you try talking to him normally? Likely without even hearing what you said, Liz put her plan into action. Shiloh! She loudly projected the words across the way, and then put on an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene, while brushing at the skirt of her dress. In a supremely awkward moment, you could only stand there as attention in the area shifted to the two of you thanks to your sister's shout. But of the many startled bystanders who became altered to your presence, one of them was the boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. He looked. A wide grin took over Liz's face. She pushed the rim of her sun hat up and away from her face while swishing back around to greet her old friend directly. Shiloh! Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet. Without really closing the gap, she wanted him to come to her. Who you presumed to be Shiloh looked surprised at the call-out. He stole a quick glance at the crowd he was with and hesitantly glanced back your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze trained on him, and ultimately he broke away from the rest of them. After a light-footed jog across the brick path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of you and Liz. Hi, I like your hat. Just that simple greeting had Liz giggling. Hello, I'm not sure if you remember this, but I'm Lizzie, and that's Mandy. We were all friends when we were little kids. His already wide eyes grew even larger, their gaze darting between you and Liz. His previously chipper demeanor faded into something delicate. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. Oh my god. He don't know us. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge still. Liz was undeterred. It's a long time ago. You were really young. I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positive I'm right. You're exactly the same. That face, the freckles, how genially you phrase things. You're even still wearing a hat. Instinctively, he looked up at his headwear with creased brows, not making the connection on why the hat meant something to her. We knew each other, okay? Did we? Now I am also unsure. An uneasy smile settled on him as silence followed Liz's speech. He was picking his next words carefully, and then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice bursting into the conversation. Listen, boy gaslit me. I was like, maybe it isn't, maybe it's not him. Who knows? Shiloh, what are you doing? The rest of the group had already left. A field trip is not a vacation. We are on a schedule. Startled, your head snapped towards the path. A distinctly unhappy individual with piercing magenta eyes, dark brown skin, and a sharp jaw stormed your way. He carried a cloud of authority with him, despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to ditch. Shiloh, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add to the explanation of his absence as the stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized me as someone they knew, but it was a tiny misunderstanding. Liz theoretically as well as literally put her foot down at that, stomping in frustration and getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion. We do know you. Shiloh merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was pained. Sorry. Listen, that's definitely him. You honestly couldn't tell if he was apologizing for the upset feelings of your sister or the palpable dissatisfaction of his new acquaintance. That in itself was very Shiloh-like. Oh, you know him, is that it? The stranger spoke in a dismissively scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him it was almost amusing, almost. But the sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated itself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you. I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Shiloh's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you had any importance in his general day-to-day existence, would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any trivial connection you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us, and you'll survive without him. Now stop loitering in the road. It's rude. Excuse me? We're the rude ones? The high-strung ranting got an audible gasp from Shiloh, who finally started to speak up again in defense. Nate, that's really mean. It's also true. We're leaving. With that declaration, the unofficially introduced Nate indignantly spun on his heel and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shiloh would follow behind. Ah. Oh, people can sure have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try to get along? It's not hard. Don't worry, though. I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry, I can't stay to talk to you. But I hope you have a really nice life. Bye! And that was it. His final parting words given, Shiloh left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life that he had to go live. Liz watched his exit, stunned, only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone as quickly as he appeared. It happened so fast you hadn't even been able to get a word in. She sighed, all the energy she built up releasing with the breath. I could have told him his last name was Fields. His birthday is October 30th. That would have proved it, but no. Shiloh grew up to be dumb. Well, damn. He had no other words for what had just unfolded. Do you want to go catch up with him? Liz merely shook her head, pushing off childish thoughts. Think we can leave it there, thanks. He's in the middle of a high school field trip, and it was already enough being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there enjoying his own part of the world. Though if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. No kidding. She laughed, but you could tell there wasn't much humor to it. She was mad at that guy, even if she was happy to let Shiloh go. Maybe they're only with each other because of the trip, and it's not usually how things are. True, we can only hope the same for him as he did for us. Have a nice life, Shiloh. Have a good life. Liz smiled at you. It had the self-confidence you knew so well from her. Come on, little baby sister. Let's finish our own trip. Yeah. No matter how either of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you just had to simply accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing until it was time to return home. By the time you arrived back, the sun was already beginning to set. You arched your back as you stretched your arms towards the ceiling. While it had been a good day, it had enough activity to cover an entire week. Liz tried to hide a yawn behind her hands. You weren't the only one feeling worn out. I'll be heading up to your room. I mean, the guest room. Since mine stopped being available as soon as I was out the door. Her tone was light. She had quite a lot to say on the subject when you'd first taken over her bigger room after she left for college. But there have been many trips back home for her since then. The room hasn't been hers for years. It was more of a running joke now that she continued to bring the topic up to this day. Thank you, Liz. It's a really nice room. Hey, don't actually sound appreciative. That's playing dirty. A small laugh was shared between you and your older sister. You better believe you'll be back in the guest room when you've got your own place and we're both in town for a visit. We can take turns. What a reasonable and mature suggestion. I'll think about accepting it. She flashed her familiar grin, and you couldn't help but feel glad she was back around, even if it was temporary. With that, she plodded off to the spare room. You were ready to do the same. Moving into a new space was your first opportunity to decorate from scratch. Oh, we're designing our room. Okay, all right. I'm in. Okay, obviously purple. What's extras one? Candles, sure. Window. Okay, that looks nice. Oh, we can only have... Okay. So we can't have the back. Oh, we can change... Okay, hold on. So that's the same always. Well, I wish we could have the lights and that. Sure. Middle. Hey, that's okay. Put the little... Okay, so let me go back here. Is there there's no different purples. Okay, so that's just that. Okay. All right, I'm good with that. This is that. Ooh. That one. Okay. Looks lovely. You were really satisfied with the feel of your tiny part of the world. As your thoughts drifted, you tried to bite down another yawn. It was no good. Your bed was now lodged in your mind, and all you could think about was collapsing on it. You trudged up the stairs to your room. Stepping inside, you closed the door behind you, blocking the rest of the house. When you turned back around, you realized you were not alone there. Comfortably perched on your windowsill was someone very familiar to you. Cove Holden. The shock knocked all the words out of you. Surprise? His tone was easy and relaxed. It certainly was a surprise. You hadn't expected him to be within the state, never mind your own house. He hadn't answered how he had suddenly just appeared back in Sunset Bird, though to be fair, you'd been too astounded to actually ask the question. Thankfully, Cove took the hint from your stunned expression and began to explain. Got in about 15 minutes ago. No one was home, so I figured I'd come in the usual way. The window. A small smile had formed on his face. You were still staring at him, unable to blink in case he disappeared. You could still barely believe that he was really there, mere feet away from you. I left my bags in your backyard. I hope that's alright. You could bring them in the house, maybe now. That was when you truly understood. Cove had come straight to you upon getting back to town. You were his first port of call, taking precedence above all else. Even though you hadn't been in when he called, Cove had ensured that he'd see you at the earliest opportunity, rather than allowing his plans to change. You ran to Cove. Every second away from him was a moment too long. As you approached, Cove quickly hopped down from the windowsill to meet you. Trouble's back in town. Sure. I missed you. Cove squeaked as your hug knocked the air out of him. He awkwardly managed to wrap his own arms around your back in return. Then Cove leaned back on his heels, pulling you into the air. He leaned as much as he could to lift you up, the height difference helping him out. You let out a small noise as your feet kicked at empty air. Grinning affectionately, Cove set you back down. I missed you too. Even if he hadn't said it outright, you would have gotten the message from his body language. Cove was grinning widely, his raised cheeks burying his eyes, which gleamed like hidden gems. But he looked at you as if you were the most exciting treasure of all. How was the trip? Cove's brow creased as he considered your question. Cove stepped towards you. He cupped your face with his hands, gently guiding your chin so your eyes met his. You could feel the beat of your racing pulse against his fingertips. I hated it. Let's never be apart again, okay? He said that absolutely as a joke, an exaggeration, something that wasn't a real request, of course. And yet, despite all that, it felt real. Your heart hammered in your chest. Your head swam, cast adrift on a tide of thoughts and adrenaline. Cove smiled as if offering a silent apology for his sudden onslaught of tenderness, but he let the words proudly hang in the air all the same. Cove told you about how his trip back had gone. Soon you'd even recovered enough to actually listen. His mom was doing really well. She had a project in the works that she was thrilled about. As a result, Cove was going to be sticking around in Sunset Bird for the time being. Things were settled as much as they could be. With Cove back once more, you felt at ease. Cove stretched his arms out over his head, his eyes on the window, the world beyond. The sun had set while you'd been busy reuniting. I should probably get my stuff and see Dad. He glanced over to you with a familiar, expectant look. Want to come with me? Sure. Okay, you know I do. Cool. Cove began to head to your bedroom door. You followed after him. The two of you casually went down to the ground floor of your house. In all the excitement of Cove's return, you hadn't even remembered the gift you'd prepared for when he got back. It'd be best to give it to him now, before he left your house. Can you wait here for a little while? I got something for you. Cove's eyes widened as he tried to conceal a smile. He toyed with the collar of his top. Really? I mean, you didn't have to do that. You nodded with some eagerness, trying to imagine how he'd react when he actually saw it. We bought Cove something special. It was. Listen, that would be adorable. Listen, for the memes, wouldn't that be cute? Okay, I want that one. You ran to the closet where you'd stashed away the unwieldy animal-shaped balloon, preventing it from floating away. You guided it out like a prized seahorse from a stable, string acting as the reins for the dolphin steed, and headed back to Cove. You were careful, analyzing your surroundings. For anything the balloon could be pierced by, it'd be awful, if somewhat ironic, if the new balloon met the same fate as its predecessor. Cove stared at the floating creature as you approached. His lips parted as he seemed lost in the burrows of his mind. You could practically see the flashbacks of childhood days flickering across his face. Then his eyes lit up, his mouth turning into a smile as the connection fully clicked for him. But the initial look of kiddish giddiness quickly softened to a more mature expression. What did I do to make you care so much about me? The question was genuine, though you wondered how he could ask that with such fondness and not have his answer. How could you not care for a man like that? You struggled with how to put that into words, settling for passing the balloon to its rightful owner. A couple of innocent giggles escaped from Cove as he took hold of it. He stared up at the dolphin, awed. I remember that time. We were 8. I'd gotten a dolphin balloon like this. It was thanks to you back then, too. We started talking about names, and then I crushed it, and it popped. You know, for most people, that'd be just a funny story, something to joke about. But I have someone who thinks so much more about me that they wanted to make it better, even years later. He finally looked back at you, his eyes glossy but smile wide and tender. He turned and tied the balloon loosely to a cabinet handle. Cove looked up at the balloon with adoration. His eyes were brighter than usual, though his face was angled away from you. You caught his eyelashes fluttering as if batting away tears. His throat bobbed as he swallowed bubbling emotions. You knew that Cove could be sentimental. The gift and all the memories and feelings that tied up in it seemed to take a toll on him. When he began to sniffle, you felt the need to reach out. Cove? I can't. Mandy, I don't know what to do. He forcefully scrubbed at his eyes, like he was trying to push the tears that threatened to spill back in. Oh, Cove, it's okay. Do you need to cry? No. Nevertheless, tears began to spill down his cheeks. Even as he wiped them away, more took their place. Thank you. His voice quavered as he spoke. Cove scooped you up into a hug, pressing you so tightly against his chest that your breath escaped in a short squeak. He burrowed his face against your neck, his shed tears damp on your skin. You hugged him back. You're welcome. Cove let out a steady breath. It was far removed from the shaky gasp that had accompanied his sniffles. The tears had dried. His eyes were a little red, but open and at peace once again. He smiled, fully recovered from the emotion that had overcome him. "You're really, seriously too nice to me," he smiled back. "I don't think there's such a thing as too nice when it comes to you." Cove brushed his hand against the pale ghost of a scar on his arm. He was at a loss for what to do now. The clock ticked away, counting the seconds of silence. Once you had the chance to settle your thoughts, you figured you'd tell Cove the intriguing news. "Meant to tell you earlier, I saw Shiloh today." "Shiloh?" Cove repeated the name, his expression blank. "From when we were kids." Cove pondered for a moment, then snapped his fingers. "Oh, he was the freckly boy from that first summer, right? The one who moved?" "I met a guy named Shiloh. He looked just like that Shiloh we knew. Plus, however many years. But he didn't remember me and just left." Cove frowned. "That's, I don't know. Too bad I missed it. Though you knew him better than I did." That was definitely true. Not only had Cove known Shiloh for a shorter period of time, but he and Shiloh had never quite gotten along. Not that they were enemies either, just kids who were only ever together because of the people they both knew. "I wonder what Shiloh's up to these days." "I don't have any idea. He didn't say much." "Oh well." That was everything you had on that news item. So you moved on to the next big update. "You know the mean old neighbors, the ones who would always yell at us?" He cringed, recalling those particularly memories of back in the day. Was not pleasant even for someone as nostalgic as him. "Yeah? They're not coming. They didn't rent the condo this summer." Cove's jaw dropped. You didn't blame him. The elderly couple had been an institution for as far back as you could remember, long predating Cove's arrival. Even now as a teenager, you found your neck prickling as you walked by their condo, half expecting a scolding for breathing in the wrong way in the vicinity of their vacation home. It was strange to think of that coming to an end. Well, maybe the next people that rent it will be rude. You never know. Wow. Cove blinked, clearly struggling with the idea in the same way you had. I didn't see that coming. People being gone, people coming back. Feels like I missed a lot. This has been a busy summer already. Well, you haven't missed the fireflies. They haven't shown up yet. Well, that's something. We better not get left behind. There's still stuff to do. You nodded. The two of you headed out and traced the most familiar path you'd ever walked, the trip across the road over to Cove's house. It seemed that no sooner had the night begun than it was already at an end, and the dawn of a new day was soon upon you. The next morning, your belly was full of breakfast, and you were in a pleasant mood. You hoped the rest of the day followed suit. Later, you were meeting up with your friends, Cove, Miranda, and Terry, to go into town. It was all on short notice, but that was because everyone was just so excited that Cove was finally back home. Having a nice daydream? You blinked, pushing all your thoughts away, returning to reality. Your mom was watching you with a teasing smile. "So what's on the agenda today?" "I'm meeting up with some people." "Well, I hope you and your friends have fun. Don't get into too much trouble." She winked at you. You knew both of your moms wanted you to enjoy every bit of this summer before all the big changes started. "I'll try. But before you go gallivanting around town, could you bring the mail in? I'm finishing up putting the dishes away over here." "All right. Thanks very much." As soon as you were outside your front door, you couldn't help but see Cove and his dad standing around in the road. They noticed you too. "Hey there, Mandy." "Hi, good timing. You should come join us." Cove took you into his arms and held you tightly until you were ready to let go. His eyes shone brightly at you, sending your heart aflutter. His cheeks were flushed, and you could tell that he was a bundle of nerves. You were tempted to hug him again. You noticed Mr. Holden was taking in the scene of you and Cove with a self-satisfied smile. Cove followed your line of sight and shot his dad an unimpressed look. For a moment, Mr. Holden seemed like he had a thought dancing on the tip of his tongue, but he decided to keep it to himself. "So what are you up to today?" "As far as I know, nothing too much. Me and Cove are meeting some friends in town later." "Sounds like a plan to me." Yawning, Mr. Holden stretched his arms over his head. "My boy and I have just been waiting around to see what the new neighbors are like." It was definitely his idea. "I don't know how you're not interested in this. It's big news. Besides, It'd only be polite to greet the new folks in town. You've been here too long of seeing a new person. That's the one. That's the one. For several moments, Mr. Holden was unable to answer. He was laughing and slightly shaking his head. You might be onto something. Cove put a reassuring hand on his dad's shoulder. You can still make the most of your life before it's too late. How old do you think I am? I'm not that old. Okay, maybe I am. Mr. Holden took one more glance at the currently vacant building and sighed dramatically. When he turned back to you and Cove, his whole body seemed to deflate. There's no sign of them, and I still need to head over to work soon. Cove gave his dad a few reassuring pats on the back. Okay, I promise to keep an eye out. I can text you if anything happens. Really? Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, only till I have to meet up with Terry and Miranda. Would that still work? The wide grin breaking out on his face, Mr. Holden looked absolutely thrilled to have his nosiness enabled. That works. He moved to firmly place both hands over Cove's shoulders, fixing his child with a firm stare. Son, you are my true ally in this world. Mr. Holden stood up straighter, letting Cove go. He looked reinvigorated. Okay, with that settled, I'll go make some money. That's always been the one thing I do best. Mr. Holden headed off to the garage. The big wave goodbye. Cove smiled with the whole time you both watched his dad leave. You really liked Mr. Holden. You had for a long time. As soon as he was out of sight, Cove sighed lightly. Are you okay? Yeah, just not looking forward to waning. Guess I'll be hanging around the street a while. I can wait with you. You wouldn't abandon Cove there to wither on his own out in the road in boredom. Really? Yeah, of course. I like keeping you company, remember? He stared at you a moment, smiling softly and thinking about his response. I like that too. Cove put his hands on your shoulders. His thumbs absent-mindedly moved in a soothing circle. The look in his eyes was much firmer. He was serious. Mandy, you're my true ally in this world. That got a fair amount of chuckles from you. He grinned, the stoicism fading into amusement. You're always good to me. You're lucky to have me. Should I shrug? He can make fun of me again. We'll just say that. Teasingly, Cove raised an eyebrow. You're the most lucky guy in all of Sunset Bird. Luckiest. For a moment, you weren't sure if Cove was laughing at your declaration or that you momentarily forgot the word luckiest. Either way, you didn't mind. His smile on his face reached his eyes and it made you feel electric. And then he let go of you. Cove stepped over to his front porch step, lazily taking a seat and leaning back on his arms. Our watch begins. Nodding in agreement, you joined Cove on the front porch steps. You both sat there in comfortable familiarity as you settled in for the waning game on the new tenants. The neighborhood was quiet, and you sighed contentedly, closing your eyes, feeling the light breeze. Eventually, you both perked up at the sound of a car. A taxi followed the noise, turning onto your street. Cove's eyebrows raised at that sight. He sat up straight on the stoop. This has to be them, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Now that they were here, you couldn't help but feel a bit curious. You wondered what kind of person would be living in the neighborhood for the summer. Taxi pulled to a stop as you expected in front of the now empty condo. It was on the same side of the street as your house, a few buildings further up. Without getting to his feet, Cove tried leaning and tilting his head to get a view of the passenger door as it opened. The single occupant exited the cab. Huh? You could feel what Cove was in that moment. For the last renters, this new visitor was definitely not exactly what you'd expected. The young man had to be close to your own age. He was dressed fully in electric black, white, and gray outfit. Eclectic black, white, and gray outfit. Even his side swooped hair matched the scheme. The only other pop of color was from something that couldn't easily be fashioned into submission. A pair of dark brown eyes, which you caught when he looked over at his audience. Hello, folks. Who might you be? We're the neighbors. That's it. You can just call us the neighbors. The smile already prominent on his face curled further. It was cocky, but you didn't get the impression it meant something adverse. Hallelujah. You and Cove shared a familiar look with one another, bewildered even further. The color-coordinated man left it there, however. With a firm click, he shut the door of his ride. Then he turned back to you and retrieved a large, unsurprisingly black suitcase out of the trunk. Continuing on with his own business, he strolled forward and lightly tapped the driver's side window with his knuckles, asking for them to roll it down. When it opened, he leaned down and rested his arms on the edge. You assumed he was thanking the driver for getting him there, considering he slipped them a tip during the brief chat. They shook hands, and then he pushed himself up and away from the taxi with both arms, giving the driver room to leave. The taxi pulled away, rolling carefully down the road and out of sight, around a corner. The new renter had officially arrived. He left the suitcase on the ground, out of the way of the street, sauntered over your way with confidence of someone who had been invited to join. Cove finally stood up to greet the person. You followed suit. I'm Baxter Ward. It's excellent to meet you, neighbors. That's our names. You were standing on the side he was approaching from. When Baxter got close enough, he offered his hand to you first. You shook it. We don't know this man. Baxter gripped your hand firmly to give a satisfying shake. I'm Baxter. Hi, Baxter. I'm Mandy. Hey, Mandy. I'm quite keen on getting to know you better this summer. We could be good friends. From the other side, Cove made a sudden sputtering noise. And you are? Cove lifted his hand out to Cove next. He lifted his hand out to Cove next. Cove shook his hand, still eyeing Baxter carefully. I'm Cove. Baxter's whole demeanor lit up for unknown reasons. His eyes shone as he studied Cove a moment. No, now wait, is that a nickname or your real name? It's just my name. Cove spoke mildly, having given that explanation many times in his past. But it clearly charmed Baxter all the same. He tossed his head to one side with a laugh. Your parents knew exactly what they were doing. I can't imagine a more fitting name for that for the face I'm seeing. Cove, that's gorgeous. It's really not. Hey, only I get to fluster him. I'm sorry, did I do that? It wasn't my intention. Baxter grinned welcomingly. The entire conversation brought a burning red blush to Cove's face, and he couldn't make eye contact with either of you. You noticed that Baxter looked apologetic over Cove's increased discomfort. I'm sorry, it wasn't intended to mean more than it did. I like your name, but you don't have to mind that. I'm patently against stepping on anyone's toes. Chuckled to himself. It seemed like there was some extra meaning hidden there in his words, and you noticed that Cove raised an eyebrow, picking up on that too. Baxter didn't even open his eyes to see your faces to know he had some filling to do. He stood up straighter, striking a slight pose with the position on his feet. I'm a ballroom dancer, hence the phrasing. Oh, I don't know much about dancing, but that's pretty cool. It's not hard once you get the basics down. Cove didn't look convinced at all. Baxter took that as a cue to keep talking. Well, he grinned in a way that was rapidly becoming familiar to you. If either of you are ever looking for a partner, I'm available. Cove peeked at you, smiling softly. You felt his familiar touch as he squeezed your hand for a moment. I already have a partner. Mandy's the only one I'd want to dance with. Sorry, she's my girlfriend. You're both together? Yeah, we are. Now that's crushing, but makes sense. I got here too late. Should have taken a semester off sooner. That's a joke, really. I didn't mean to intrude on anything you have with the offer. You didn't answer the question. Baxter nodded understandingly and let the subject go. After that, there was a lull in conversation, and Cove attempted to fill it. What made you decide on Sunset Bird? Oh, yes. Well, my parents rented a condo, so I had a place to stay while I'm off for the semester from college and not living in the dorms. There was a playful glint in Baxter's eyes as he continued. Ideally, they wanted to send me somewhere that wasn't too exciting, but lucky for me, they picked the wrong street, considering the two of you live here. Baxter then preemptively lifted his hands up in front of his chest, giving the gesture for meaning no harm. It's nice not to be the only one my age around the neighborhood for an entire summer, nothing more. That was a story you had heard before. The same one as when Lonely Cove and his dad moved in all those years ago. Cove wasn't relating still. You could have phrased it like that in the first place. I don't feel the need to keep words of praise to myself, but they're not romantic come-ons. I see that you two are very much a committed pair. I'd like to be friends if we can, but that's all. It's okay. Why isn't there like a neutral? It's okay. I guess this is probably it's okay. Baxter looked at you and smiled apologetically. I'll keep it in check. Shifting his weight to his other foot, Baxter tried to move forward. So which condo is yours? How long have you been living together? Oh, no. Cove sputtered again, and unintentionally a laugh escaped you. We're both your neighbors, but we live in different houses with our parents. As if second nature, the two of you pointed to your homes, the buildings directly across the street from each other. Baxter's eyebrows raised at that. Your neighbors who started dating? What a couple of lovebirds. You're the backbone of romantic society. Honestly, I hope you never break up. If you can make it work, there might be a chance for the rest of us. You knew Cove well enough to tell there was a little bit of amusement in his expression, but he sighed in exasperation. After that, you had no doubts about his claims to being complimentary. You shook your head at it. Too much again? Kind of. Well, if either of you are free, I'd be thrilled to hang out this summer. But we can save the scheduled talk for later. I gotta get my things inside. He gave a small nod and head and flashed you both a dazzling smile. Goodbye for today. Bye. Cove gave a small wave as well. Bye, Baxter. See you. Baxter then turned on his heels and strolled back to his suitcase, picking it up, bringing it to his condo. You and Cove were silent as Baxter unlocked the door and disappeared inside the house. With him completely out of the scene, Cove let out a long breath. I don't know how I'm going to explain that guy to my dad. You burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation. At least the job is done. We saw the new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda. Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. You weren't sure how to feel. Honestly, you didn't know if you would ever come to a conclusion about him. Baxter was just so different. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all the thoughts of Baxter aside. You both started making your way towards town. Took his hand. You slid your palm into his, and Cove laced his fingers with yours. His expression instantly became happier, and he lightly squeezed your hand. A little while later, you and Cove reached the main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking. What's wrong? I think I heard my phone. You dug your cell phone out, and looking at it with a satisfied grin, there was a new message. You opened the new text from Miranda, and all you saw was, I can see you. Immediately from where you stood, you started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. I saw you holding Cove's hand. Scandalous. Where are you? Haha, come on. Really, Randy? Oh, I didn't know that. The message was sent, and you were back to looking around, scanning for any sign of movement and familiar faces. But they were still invisible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. You burst in. Oh, you sent your own joking text. That's good. If you want to keep hiding, Cove and I can just go do our... No, that's not nice. I don't like that one. You smirked, hitting the send message. Cove looked at you curious, raising an eyebrow. What's happening? You could even begin explaining anything to Cove. You both snapped your attention to the yelling from across the street. There you saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of the grocery store. They both started waving wildly to draw even more attention to themselves. Cove took a step in their direction, grinning. He put his hand around his mouth to better project his message across the street. Hey! Laughing arm in arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street. Hi, I hope you weren't waiting too long. Hey, buddies! Hi. I'm amazed. How did you appear out of nowhere like that? They started giggling, and Terry glanced at Miranda, wondering what the story should be. It was magic. Gesturing in a vaguely whimsical manner, Terry went along with the decision. And magicians never reveal their secrets. Ooh, that's fair. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove, crushed him in a painfully tight hug. You're finally here. It's been so long. What took you? He did his best to eke out a reply with his chest being compressed. Sorry. Eventually, she let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Standing there, Miranda shifted her weight to her other hip. She watched Cove patiently with a bashful smile. Welcome back. Thanks. Finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you'd have another afternoon like this again. They didn't either. Cove. Terry poked Cove square in the chest. You're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday. Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with Orca activities. When Cove wasn't at his part-time job or pursuing his athletic and academic interests, he volunteered for Ocean Restoration California Affiliation, Orca. The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollution from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. It didn't surprise you one bit when he started getting involved with them. We joined too. Their big smash event for the year is coming up, right? Yeah, there's not much more to do before then. I'm kind of looking forward to the fundraising push. Hopefully we can pull it off. If anyone can do it, it's you two. Even if it goes really bad, it'll still look good on a college application at least. That's true. Hey, guess what else? We don't have to stand here to say stuff. Let's go. I would like a meal now. Bringing up Cove nodded in agreement. Yeah, for sure. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly to stop and eat. Listen, did y'all have that place? You know, like the place y'all went when you were hanging out, whatever. We always went to Perkins. We loved a Perkins. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's like a chain diner is probably the best way I could phrase it. But they were open. I think they were open 24 hours. So like you could go whenever and it was great. Anyway, if y'all had a place, let me know. The rest of the afternoon and evening passed by in a blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. It was a good day. I feel like you'd be energized. Days like today, filled with good food and good company, left you feeling What'd I say? As you walked alongside Cove, you peered at his face out of the corner of your eye. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. It was out of character. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead and left you alone with your own thoughts. It surprised you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you. Feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same, and they're not. They've changed. They're still changing. Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true. The things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. You've been considering more and more, and ideas were starting to settle in your mind. You hoped. To go to school full time. That was the basics. For your career, you thought you'd and that was all. For your education, you thought you'd listen. Literally, the smartest thing would probably be to do this first, and then once you've settled on what you want to do, you could go here, right? Save yourself money. Life advice. I did not do that. I did this. Do this. Do this first. Get your gen eds out. That is life advice time from Mandy. Thank you so much. So we'll start there. That's fine. And that was all. And for that you wanted to I stayed in state. It'd all be happening so soon. By summer, would have already applied. Spoken about all this with family and those who you're close to, like Cove. Now you wonder what Cove had in mind. You'd heard him consider some things for his future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Making it back home, you both stopped in the middle of the street, Cove's side. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the right words to say. So are you still thinking about working and stuff in another part of California? Yeah. Cove closed his eyes and nodded. Well, he composed his thoughts. He looked at you when he lifted his head. I decided on something. Well, kind of. He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm. And then his expression grew more serious. I'm not going to decide on a school or a career. Not this summer. I'm going to stay here, at least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place. I'll keep working my job, doing my volunteer stuff and everything else. Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall or next year. Or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever's happening. I'm not going to crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I just can't do it. His brows furrowed, and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him. I know that's not very exciting, but it's the best I can do right now. He laughed self-derisively, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. He smiled. Your plan sounds very you. His head tilted affectionately ever so slightly to the side as you watched him process your response. Phil was going to continue doing things his way and in his own time. He exhaled, releasing some of the tension in his shoulders. Thanks for hearing me out on this. You knew him well enough to know that Cove wasn't feeling completely better about the way things were. No matter what's happening, I want you to know that you won't ever lose me. Won't really be gone. I'll still be there for you the best I can, whether it's long distance or whatever else. Cove's whole expression softened, his lips pulled into an affectionate smile. Mandy, you deserve everything you want in life. Listen. I'm an emotional girly. I would probably tear up. Cove's declaration had your eyes welling with tears. No matter how many times you wiped your eyes with the back of your hand, your face was wet. Cove looked at you concerned. He took a step closer. Then he brought a hand to your face, cupping your cheek. Dotingly, his thumb lightly brushed your skin. A shiver shot down your spine. He spoke to you softly, wholeheartedly. He meant every word. Things are hard right now. It scares me, but it'll be okay. It'll be more than okay. Now that things are up to us, we can make our lives better than they ever were. You felt better after his reassurance. Whether Cove realized it or not, he said exactly what you needed to hear. He was right, and you almost felt excited, wanting to know what kind of future was waiting for you a few years from now. Finally, your eyes stopped overflowing with tears. You could meet Cove's gaze clearly. You nodded. At that, his expression morphed into a look of careful confidence. Clearly, he was still struggling with this topic. You wondered what else might be on his mind. This was a start, I think. It's not over, is it? I have to keep talking about it going forward. Yeah. Cove softly reiterated his promise. It'll all be okay. We'll still always be there for each other. Is that good with you? It is. Cool. That's cool. I'll see you tomorrow, Mandy. I'll see you at night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug. It knocked the breath out of you. Yet it couldn't have been a more reassuring feeling. You returned his embrace and stayed that way for as long as you could. Night. He finally let go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered how many more times will he be able to say that he'll see you tomorrow. You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned towards your own house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer. All right. That was long story time. That's surprising. Okay, so we got 5 more little events, and then we get into the final step. So we'll stop here for today. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. I had fun. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time. Bye, gang. Love y'all.